Scholars, Miss Jane's here to help you with your first grade skills lessons. Today we're on Skills Unit 4, Lesson 16. Today's objectives are to use regular past, regular present, and future tense verbs, read, spell, and write words with an ED ending, and to read a new story and answer some questions. Today we're going to do the story first. We're back in our Green Fern Zoo reader, and today's story is The Reptile Room. The Reptile Room is chapter 8 on page 42. Some words we're going to come across in today's story with the oi sound, coiling, with the sound, garter, killer, rattler, ever, dweller, pattern. Some tricky words, say them with me. Who, some, do, because, would, could. And some two-syllable words. Reptile, harmless, rabbit, hidden. And some vocabulary. We have a lot of vocabulary for today's story. Our first vocabulary word is reptile. A reptile is a type of animal that includes snakes and lizards. Reptiles have scales. Our next word is garter snake. A garter snake is a snake that is harmless to humans. And harmless means that it cannot hurt you. Oh, and our next word is harmless. Harmless means of no harm. It will not hurt you. Rattler. A snake with a rattle at the end of its tail whose bite is poisonous. Scales. Scales are the rough outer covering on the skin of snakes and fish. Scales protect the body of an animal. Desert. The desert is a hot, dry place that's often sandy. Desert dweller. A desert dweller is an animal that lives in the desert. The desert is, once again, a hot, dry place that's often sandy. So a desert dweller is just an animal that lives there. Coiling up. Coiling up means to wrap around in a circle. We might see snakes in the reptile room coiling up like a piece of rope. They'll just look like a circle when they're coiled up. We're going to read today's chapter to learn more about the types of reptiles at the Green Fern Zoo. Let's go over to our story, and here we have our friend Vern again. The title is The Reptile Room. Who likes snakes? Hands up if you like them. Some kids like snakes best of all, and some kids can't stand them. If you do not like snakes, you can skip this next room because it is the reptile room. And the caption says, at the zoo, snakes make their home in the reptile room. And this one has a heading. The heading is garter snakes. So these words are going to be about garter snakes. This is a garter snake. Garter snakes feed on slugs, insects, and frogs. For those critters, the garter snake is a killer. But for us, it's harmless. It is harmless. A garter snake could bite you, but its bite would not make you sick. And then right under here, the caption says, garter snakes are harmless. So garter snakes are harmless to humans, to us. It could bite you and it won't do anything. But for the critters that it likes to feed on, it's not so harmless. Ooh, here we have another type of snake, and the heading says rattlers. This is a rattler. He is a desert dweller that hunts for rats and rabbits. He has a pattern on his scales that helps him blend in and hide in the desert sands. When the rattler is hidden, it is hard for rats and rabbits to see him. And the caption on this picture says, "The pattern on the rattler's scales help it hide in the desert." So this animal is a desert dweller. That means it lives in the desert. Here's some more about the rattler. A rattler is not harmless like a garter snake. If you ever see this snake hissing and coiling up, you better stand back and let it be. The rattler has sharp fangs, and a bite from a rattler could kill you. But we are safe here in the reptile room. There is a sheet of glass keeping us safe from the snakes. And right down here below the picture of the rattler, it says, "A bite from a rattler can be harmful." So we learned, two facts we learned, is that garter snakes are harmless. They can't hurt us. But rattlers are not harmless. They can hurt us. Let's look at some questions from today's story. First off, what animals might we find in the reptile room? Yeah, we're going to find some snakes, animals with scales in that reptile room. Next, they want us to look at page 43 and say what types of animals might live in the pond in front of the reptile room. So let's go back to the story and look at page 43. So here is page 43 in the picture. What types of animals do you think might live in this pond? Probably some fish, maybe some frogs, animals that usually live in water. Why is it helpful for the rattler to blend in and hide in the sand, hidden from those rabbits and rats? Yeah, so we can kind of sneak up on them. If they see him, they're going to go hide and he will never have anything to eat. Vern says that if a rattler is hissing and coiling up, you need to stand back and be careful. What do you think the rattler might do after hissing and coiling up? If we see a rattler hissing and coiling up, he might be about to bite us. That's why we would want to stand back if we saw those things happening. Next, we do have a couple questions from the story today, The Reptile Room. Just like yesterday, make sure you use the question to write your answer with a full sentence, capital letter at the beginning and punctuation at the end. For example, what do garter snakes feed on? You would start that off by saying, garter snakes feed on, and then finish your sentence. Let's go back to the lesson because we have a few more things to do. If you want to finish your workbook page, you can do that and then come back to the video. Let's look at some verbs. Can anyone remember what a verb is? A verb is an action word. It's something that you can do. For example, I might say, today I zip a zipper. The verb is zip. It's what I'm doing. If I was talking about tomorrow, I would say, tomorrow I will zip a zipper. It's a little bit different. I added the word will. Let's see if you can help me change these sentences from present tense to future tense. For example, I might say, today I lift my arm. How would I say that for tomorrow? Tomorrow I will lift my arm. Good. And what's the verb in that sentence? The verb is lift. That's something you can do. Lift. The next sentence. Today I jump like a grasshopper. How can I say that I will do that tomorrow? Tomorrow I will jump like a grasshopper. Good. And what's the verb in that sentence? Jump. That's right. You can jump up and down once for me right now. It's something you can do. It's an action word. Let's look at one more. Today I drive a car. How would you say that for tomorrow? Tomorrow I will drive a car. Good. And what is the verb in that sentence? Drive. Drive is the action. Drive is what you are doing. Let's take a quick look at the spelling words for this week. This week's spelling words are all past tense verbs. So I just wanted to take a look at them before you guys have your spelling test. So all of these words have ed at the end. That tells us that there's something that happened in the past. So when we look at them, we can look at them without the ed at the end and then add the ed afterwards. For example, I would say sound, sounded, lift, lifted, point, pointed, park, parked, wave, waved, grin, grinned, trip, tripped. So it might be easier to look at them as the verb first and then make them past tense. And our eighth word this week is going to be tricky word have. Make sure you practice those words and get ready for your spelling test. And that is all I've got for today. Great work, and I'll see you tomorrow.